there. There you go.
Thank you for the introduction. All right, everybody. So first I want to start out and apologize. If I cough in your ear, I will try to be fast on the mute button, but I'm trying to fight a cold, and I'll try to respect everybody's ears and not cough into that. So I want to start out and first talk about big data. It's a huge buzzword over the last year and a half. We hear it in just about every time we turn on the TV and listen to the news or read a business journal. So really I want to start out and define what big data means. Data in its basics is defined as so much data that the current business infrastructure or systems cannot compute it. For some organizations, the mid-tier, mid-sized organizations, this could be just simply hundreds of terabytes. For some of the larger organizations, this could be millions of terabytes. But the real big data problem that everybody speaks about is too much data that you can't compute or you don't have any way of handling or doing anything with. Now, most people also associate big data just simply as traditionally as we thought of data as what sits in a data warehouse or what sits in your servers, on your SQL or Oracle database systems. The problem with that theory is, or the problem with that image is that it's only really half the story, actually less than that in today's world. There are two different types of data. We've been dealing with structured data for many years. Operationally, running call centers, we are the experts as far as I'm concerned compared to a lot of other industries because we've been looking at analytics and data that comes out of our call center based upon our agent activity, call volumes, all those things that are part of structured data. We've been monitoring that for a year, and we've been trying to use that to improve our operations. So I really think call centers have a good handle typically on their structured data. Things like first call resolution, average talk time, conversion rates in the outbound world, those are all things we all know. So I'm not going to focus so much on structured data, although it does come into play. The biggest piece and where big data becomes critical for even us call centers is the unstructured data. Now, unstructured data is any type of data that's sitting in a format that's not searchable. Historically, documents, emails, chats, simple things in our world like call notes inside a CRM. There's no real way to structure that data or understand it because nothing traditionally has been out there that can really give us insight into where all that stuff lies. Now, some companies have gone out in this big data push and they've started to hire consulting groups. They spend thousands of man hours. I've heard of projects that cost millions of dollars and thousands of man hours just to try to understand and put what is called metadata tags to indicate what documents mean, where they should be categorized, and try to grab the pertinent information inside that unstructured data. Now, those are the typical type of big data projects that you hear from the large enterprises, or even sometimes, to the mid-range. They go out and they find these consultants because they really don't understand where all their unstructured data lies and what the real problem is. Next. Next, Phil. Thank you. Each year, the amount of information created in the enterprise, paper, digital combined, grows faster than 65%. And we all know inside our businesses that the amount of emails we send, the amount of different pieces of information that we create a file, we send it off to somebody, they edit it, they create their own versions. We try to do good jobs in version tracking, but we really do not have an understanding or a good handle on how to manage all of this unstructured data. Even the relatively small companies, even 100 users, corporations will manage over 8.5 million emails a year as of 2012. And there's currently over 70 million blogs. Now, this data is a little old, as you can see down at the bottom. At that time, there were 70 million blogs and 20 billion tweets. In reducing the time, wasted just dealing with the information overload. With a company with more than 500 employees, would save you more than $2 million a year in just a 15% reduction in that overload. And more than 70% of your company's data is actually in an unstructured format. Next. So now let's talk about some of the usable, now that we've defined big data, let's talk about some of the usable things that have actually come out. So, I mean, really, I hear this all the time. Why as a call center should we even care about big data? You know, we've got agents to manage, we've got organizations and profits and costs to deal with. I mean, what really is the impact of big data? Well, as you've seen in the past couple of slides, it clearly is impacting us today. As businesses, we're the ones that deal in the call center world. We're the frontline people. You know, that information, if it could be valuable to anybody, you would have to assume that your call center needs to have the information that's stored inside all these unstructured data formats. So some of the products that have actually come out of this big data boom, or the revolution that's going on right now, is some of them have actually improved current technologies, and some of them are whole new concepts based around this, and these are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So knowledge bases. Knowledge bases, I'm actually going to cover pretty extensively in my portion, have been changed based upon big data technology. There's something called an informational audit, which actually we'll be speaking to specifically, that allows gathering of information to understand your overall data problems. And then compliance management tools. And this is kind of a next generation out of the big data revolution that's come through, that allows you to not just do simple compliance auditing based upon small percentages, because as humans we can only audit so much of our activity, but actual tools that can manage data-driven processes and compliances and understand 100% of the time where the failures or mistakes lie. So I don't want to get into the information audits or compliance management tools. Those are, Yves will definitely speak to those. So next. So now how is an actual knowledge base using big data? It's simply speaking, what has happened is that there's something called semantic engines. It's essentially APIs or development APIs that sit under the hood that have been integrated into knowledge bases. Web-based or internal, everything should be pretty much delivered web-based, as we all know. And these engines, in the old days, these engines are not limited to keyword definitions. They can actually look at the semantics and understand information that's being delivered either from your customers or that your particular people may be asking, and determine what the answers need to be. Now, how this relates to big data is these same semantic engines are the ones that are utilized when crawling extensive data and reading terabytes of information to understand and categorize and manage or display the big data problems that exist in your business. Next. All right, so what are semantic engines? I know when I speak to some people, their eyes kind of glass over, and I want to make sure that this is pretty clear, because it's kind of the part that runs under the hood in a lot of these big data, the big data solutions that are coming out. So semantic engines give a piece of software or technology the ability to understand language, not keywords, but actual language, the nouns, the verbs, the capital letters, and actually get as detailed as understanding and interpreting actual meanings, all the way down to something that's called sentiment analysis. So, the best way I can describe this is when I talk to my kids, and something could be bad, which is good, or something can be bad, which is bad. It depends on how it's utilized. And semantic engines can be programmed, and that's a very simplistic example, but it can be programmed to understand the actual language, and in multiple languages too. In today's world in the U.S., our economies are driven by multi-language environments. We're a culture of many people, so it's critical to know that you have the capability of delivering this type of technology in multiple languages. So semantic engines can be utilized to categorize documents, emails, and other forms of human interaction data, that unstructured data. So they're designed to solve big problems. Again, I mean these are tools that are designed to spider networks, to scour website information. But because of the nature of customers requesting certain types of functionality or wanting to see improvements and efficiencies, these semantics have then been integrated and applied to actual usable products that anybody can access. Next. All right, so let's talk about the basic knowledge base. I mean, we all know what FAQs are. They're flat files. You can see them. You can scroll down, find the question that you're kind of looking for, and hopefully it gives you an answer that fits the question that you want. So, surprisingly, even in this day and age, we still find FAQs out on websites as their form of answering questions for companies that are curious about you. Now, some companies have actually implemented knowledge bases. Some systems have them built in, but the typical knowledge base is designed to deliver multiple answers, whatever seems fitting based upon keywords to that one question. Well, that's okay, and for that generation, it gave a lot of information, to people, much like what we use in Google. When we search, we type in something, and hopefully we get the right answer, because who knows how the keywords are going to fall. Now, what semantics has done and how this ties into a knowledge base is this actually allows for a single search to look for a single right answer. So that's the goal, is to find what we've termed as first search resolution. We all call first call resolution. We know that number because our call centers, live and die on the customer service side by first call resolutions. So first search resolution is a reality that we all have to face today, because all of our customers are looking to our websites. They're wanting to find information. The days of picking up the phone are slowly going away. We all know it. On the outbound side, we see contact reductions significantly. On the inbound side, we see people coming in and actually saying they can't find information on their website, so they finally had to call. We know that the generations, especially the ones coming up, in earlier coming up now, out of school, out of college, and the buyers of today are actively looking on the web to find what they need. So what we've seen from this type of functionality is, out of the people who actually search on your website for the information, you can get we've seen upwards to a 20% reduction in the number of calls to your company based upon this. And this is just early data. This is information that we're actually seeing coming from customers who are actively using this type of technology. Now, we've also seen an increase in production in cross-sells, because the value of semantics is, once you understand what a customer is searching for in your knowledge base, you can then apply that same piece of information to potentially pushing them to another page on your website to actually sell a particular product that they may be searching on. Next. All right, so there's a couple of different ways to deploy this type of knowledge base. You can do it customer-facing, which is what I've been talking about. The external website, you actually deploy, then the external knowledge base to your website. It's a real-life tool. It interacts with the customer, finds them the right answer to their question. So everybody understands there's intrinsic value to first call resolution, and again, I'm going to keep saying it, first search resolution is going to become as critical, because in the web world, there's 20 other people on that same Google page that's going to become their next search if they can't find the answer. The next generations are not going to pick up the phone and call. They're going to search. So you want to be able to provide them with something that's going to give them the right answer every time. There's the agent-facing or the internal deployment. A lot of companies have implemented FAQs, knowledge bases internally, so it's only logical that you want to deliver this type of tool. I mean, there's the consistency in the messaging that's critical for every business. There's being able to provide a decrease in training time. Imagine your the amount of time you can reduce off your agent's training time or your collector's training time if you actually provide them with a real tool that they can search live and see this and see the information they need and give the correct answer in the consistent manner in which your company wants to deliver that message. And those things are essential and critical to every company, I think, today, and we're all trying to figure out how to do it. There's now technology that can actually accomplish that. And then there are other deployment methods that are actually beyond just the traditional customer-facing or internal. There's the integration options. So there are chat tools. We've all seen, we go on to our favorite airline website and we get a pop-up, or from whatever website we're on, we get a pop-up saying, hey, do you want to chat to a live agent? Now, imagine if you can have a chat tool pop up and be the knowledge base. And the customer asks a question, the knowledge base knows the answer up to a certain threshold, gives the answer back, asks the question, does this answer your question? Customer says yes, they go away happy. You didn't even have to have an agent interact. Now, the same customer says, no, that didn't answer my question. It can pop up, hey, do you want to speak to a live agent, or do you want to chat with a live agent? Yes. At that point, a live agent is engaged, and they have a more extensive knowledge base in the internal deployment that can give and find the answers. Now, this agent interacting with this chat tool, it gives the answer, asks the customer, hey, was that the correct answer? And the customer says yes. That knowledge base then learns that answer, learns that question, stores it, and you can then actually go back through dashboards and actually implement that question as the answer moving forward. You've got email integrations. Clearly, there are call centers out there, companies that are utilizing email to answer customers' questions directly. Same thing applies with the chat tool that I just talked about. You can actually integrate the semantics to understand the questions, find answers, provide consistent messaging. Social media. Everybody's scrambling. It's a big discussion in the call center world. Is there value? How do we manage it? Every major corporation has a social media team inside their call center typically. So clearly, again, semantics, the ability to understand what someone's saying and even go as far as the sentiment analysis becomes critical when working around social media tools and replies. Again, helping you manage the messaging. Those are all critical pieces. And then there's mobile apps. Now, mobile apps, we all know that in some industries, if you're a first party or you own a product or you're trying to outsource services for a company that has a mobile app, these tools can be integrated just the same to be able to deploy the same type of results. And so we've got multiple different types of channels. And, really these tools, that's what they encompass. That's the value for your company, is its customer engagement. It allows you to engage your customer and, again, deliver consistent messages and do it, with the right answer every time. So next. Now, let's talk about something else a little cooler. And I apologize for my images because these are the ones that I had. But this will give you an idea of a next generation that you can apply to your external deployments. What if you could put an actual avatar on your website? Now, some of the major airlines actually do have this. Now, by integrating this semantics engine and this knowledge base into an avatar, you get a live interaction. These virtual agents today, you see them all over the place. Some interact, some don't. But you can actually go as far as deploy this with a virtual agent avatar that can interact with your customer. If they get the right answer, they can smile. If they don't have an answer, it can frown. And there are simple things like that you can also integrate text-to-speech on your website to actually answer verbally back to your customer. These things are exciting, technology that without the power of big data, without the big data revolution it probably never would have been pushed along as fast. It's really forced the semantics world and the data world to change the way they view data and interact with it, and try to engage the customers now with that same technology. Next. All right, so I'm going to summarize my section, and then I'll hand it back to Phil to introduce Yves. So big data, we all know it's getting bigger. We all know it's impacting us, whether we like it or not, whether we feel like we're justified in thinking we need to take a look at big data. The reality is you are. All these different channels, all these different communications, they're all unstructured. There's no way to manage that through traditional keyword understanding. So big data is a problem. We're all going to be impacted. Customer engagement is changing. There's multiple channels. Based upon these engines, you can actually take advantage of the big data technologies and drive these initiatives into your own company. And because of the big data revolution, the ROI on these things have been created so they're accessible to any company, and they have tremendous ROIs. The real value to you is that, thanks to big data, you now have access to tools that you never would have seen before. So with that said, I'm going to pass it back to Phil. Thank you all for your time, and we will have a question and answer section, as Phil said, towards the end, so please feel free to ask questions as we go along, and we'll definitely respond to some as we have time.
Okay, Fred, thanks very, very much. That was, I thought I knew everything about big data, but I did learn a few more things here, so thanks. And, this is a reminder, again, feel free to ask questions, because we're not going to do a live question and answer period. So type your questions here at the bottom of your console. And you're going to have to open it up again using the orange arrow to get that. Type questions anytime as you're going along. You think of something, please feel free to type the question and send it. We're getting a few in, and then we look forward to getting some more in. All right, now our next guest is, like I said before, he is way up there as far as one of the industry leaders on the topic of big data. Yves has been with Coginov for, 8 years now, I believe, Yves. And you're the Chief Strategy Officer, the CSO. You must be important because I only know one other CSO. But you've been dealing with partners and big customers, big corporate customers, and I know you've also dealt with smaller ones too, to integrate Semantic and the NLP technologies. But I'm going to let you tell a little more about yourself, just because you can hit on the key points to explain to people how you know about this and how that's going to benefit what we're talking about today. So, without further ado, Yves, it's all yours. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Fred. Just taking a little time about to go a bit further with the introduction. I have a background in information science and as well in artificial intelligence. So the two have come together, and I've been involved in information management and semantics for a long, long time. So that's pretty much me. Foremost, I'd like to thank you all for attending the webinar today on some of the solution Usuable technology that have been driven by big data, especially in the call center industry. And just to highlight some of the things that Fred was talking about, we're often asked, is big data a new thing? I would like to say that the concept of big data is nothing new. If we take, for instance, the premises of big data, which are volume, velocity, and density of data, we've all seen high transaction volume and density of data in some specific areas of our business before. It's nothing new. What is new is really the way now that information is coming across all channels, and those channels are acting as catalysts to new information creation and flow in all areas of our business. It's not just one area anymore, where maybe before we used to get everything in one area. Now we get it cross channels, all areas are impacted and we have to deal with big data. We can certainly say that globalization of markets was a factor, or is a factor. However, I would venture to say that the internet and the proliferation of devices like desktop, tablets, especially tablets and smartphones, is become the leading factor behind the big data generation or the big data information creation situation. Now that we have those devices, everything happens in real time across a multitude of communication channels, be it voice, SMS, email, web, chat, social media, and so on. And we just are ill-equipped to deal with that. Another aspect that Phil addressed was the fact that a lot of the information that we have to manage nowadays is unstructured. I would like to say that 90% of the information created last year alone was unstructured, and that in the last year we've created more information than we had in the previous 50 years. So you can see that information is creating at a pace that we just have a hard time dealing with. When we were confronted with big data in the past, or actually, be it traditional phone calls in the call center, we're getting more phone calls. We would add people, we would extend hours, and from that we saw the emergence of very large call centers, specialized call centers, outsourced call centers, and so on and so on. The problem is qualified people or qualified resources are finite. We just cannot keep expanding. Plus, as you have channels and you add peoples and so on, our cost increases, and not to mention the training required to maintain an acceptable level of quality of service. It's just not possible to deal with all of that before. So, the question arises, how do we manage the new channels? How do we maintain a competitive cost ratio? And most important of all, how do we protect our branding and corporate image? In talking to customers and dealing with customers and talking to industry specialists and so on, we believe, and we see the emergence now, that the way of dealing with this, first and foremost, we need to unify our dashboard to monitor and communication across all channels, because we're just not dealing with one or two channels anymore of communication. As Fred has highlighted, we need to have a smart knowledge base, but smart knowledge base that is shared by channels and shared by customer and agents alike, because we need to ensure that we have the ability to add information as new topics are being added, and with social media and so on, they're created a place that we have a hard time keeping up with, and have the ability to adjust our response and provide a harmonized and standardized response across all channels. As well, we have to integrate new technology, and mostly the technology that address the issues of unstructured data, because otherwise we're going to have a hard time keeping up with the competition. Next slide. So what we get, as a result, is really technology that we need to investigate. So technology that have been around for a while, like natural language, text mining, semantics, a little bit newer, which enable us to read, understand text, understand the context, understand the meaning, so that we have a way of dealing with the unstructured data flow. We've seen lately a lot of that technology has got even better with new heuristics, part-of-speech, and inference engines, so that we have toolbox now that are available that can be integrated to existing systems and give us what you have on the screen right now, which I call a living and breathing ecosystem, which gives us the ability to have people and machine coexisting to better manage the inflow and outflow of data. by adding this to the equation, we provide automated response and our suggestions. We can provide automated routing capabilities to qualify agents, and evidently we have virtual agents as well. Next slide. Now, definitely when we're asked, are these new technologies, available, and can they address other areas of my business? Most organizations have accumulated a large amount of documents and information across the years, be it on their website with thousands of pages, some of it actualized, some of them, haven't been touched for a while. You don't even know what you have. The CRM, the ERP of the world, the legacy systems, the file systems, the desktop, the SAN, the NAS, I could go on and on. All information is all over the place. From a call center perspective, it is imperative that we ensure that the information posted and relayed back to customers be actual and correct. And the way to do this is you need to build an information mapping of the information that you have. And so one of the tools that addresses that is a tool that goes in and do what we call informational audit. So an information audit, will collect, analyze, organize information, will do the analysis, look at the sense, look at the context. At the end of that, you can get a unified dashboard with all the information, or you can even get a report of recommendations and things that you can do to remediate to some of the situations. If you had to do this using someone in your organization to read and identify and categorize all the documents or the page on your websites, it would take months or even years. Now we have machines that can do that. They can access, read, and categorize thousands of documents per minute. With the information map, then you can refresh that information, you can actualize it, you can archive it, you can further improve your knowledge base, and which should be the starting purpose, with the new information to align it with your customer service, your branding, your information strategies. So in essence, it gives you the ability to implement and have governance over the information management within your call centers. Next slide. Some of the features that you would expect in information audit are evidently the categorization, clustering, the deep analysis of documents and content provided, aligning with your classification plans, your taxonomies, ontology, and so on, and creating smart data along the way, looking at those documents and understanding the context, looking at data application, summarization, providing you with a diagnostic and recommendation. But once you have the information map, the tool, informational audit tools should allow you to drill down, filter, either by document type, content type, subject, concepts, filtering, creating views so that you can, further your analysis and align it with your strategic planning and your strategies that you want to put in place. So that's what a informational audit should do for you at a very high level anyway. Next slide. So other area that we see as emerging is that we all confronted with regulation and rules and so on. And another areas where the semantics, text mining, and natural processing technologies have really created an environment that is constructive for the organization is, compliance management. Traditionally compliance management, called for a sampling, looking at a sample within your organization. So you took subset of documents, you took subset of processes and guidelines and so on, and you try to validate if the compliance was there. Now, you know, if for call center it means looking at documents and processes, validating them, and so on. But if you can automate the whole process by having machine reading the documents, machine validating that your processes are being enforced and your guidelines are being enforced, and validating against external systems, you know, where the facts are being saved, like the results of your processes are being saved, for example, in your CRM system. You can even read the notes within your CRM system to see if some of the data that you expected to collect in accordance with your processes have been saved and updated and so on. And so across your different systems, you can validate and verify and make sure that you have what we call a real-time assessment of your compliance effort, and that's what a compliance platform should do. Some of the functionalities relevant to a compliance platform, evidently you know, applying relevant ontologies and capturing enterprise vocabulary and lexicon and resources such as machines, name, and so on, so that you can establish precise relationship between the regulation and the business process description and so on. Validate those processes again, regulation, the vocabularies, assemble a complete list of verification rules that can be validated against your external system, like I said before, and document and create a evidence of all the tracking of your compliance. So you know at all times where you are, what you've done in terms of remedials, and so on and so on. And evidently, it will have features such alerts, status reports, and dashboard, and so on. Next slide. So, you know, just to give you some screenshots of compliance platform, you can see, you know, we can have percentage, we can look at number of processes that were looked at, number of verification that were done, and so on and so on. So it gives you a very quick way of seeing where there are issues, where you should go and you know, take remedial action, and so on. So it's important to keep you know, a process running without too much effort, and make sure that you automate as much as possible using new technology in order to address some of the compliance issues that you have on a day-to-day basis. Next slide. So in conclusion, big data is all about volume, variety of data, and velocity of data. Like I said, 90% of data created in 2012 was unstructured, and as Fred has said, we are impacted in the call center from a customer engagement process point of view by big data. We need to make sure that we unified our monitoring and processes, that we add automated process intelligence to the equation, so that we can make sure that we have the ability to respond on a timely fashion. And first and foremost, we need to make sure we integrate semantics in the NLP technology, because that's going to give us the way of addressing the issues of unstructured data within the big data boom. So that's it for me, Phil. I want to give you the control back so that people can ask questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Yves. And again, a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate having you and Fred both here. Thank you so much. We do have some questions, and I'll try to figure out who they're for. This first one is for Fred, because that's what the person says. So with that, can you go over the semantics part again, and how we can possibly program our system to understand the bad which is good, the bad which is bad? The example that you gave with your kids in one of your first slides. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, let me go a little deeper into that. All right, so semantics and the engines that we've been discussing utilize something Yves mentioned, NLP, or natural language processing. It's the ability to understand and read language. So when I say that, it's the same as, you can almost think about it as artificial intelligence. We as humans can read a statement or a series of statements and pull out what the actual meaning is. Well, because of this semantics engine and natural language processing and what we've been discussing about this engine, it actually has the ability to do that, to read, look, and understand. And it again uses the language rules of nouns, verbs, capital letters to understand and pull out the information that's critical. It eliminates all of the garbage and keeps the information that it needs to understand what someone's really trying to mean. And I think that's the important piece as we're in our world of social media and channels. Their communication methods have changed. With what is it, 144 characters or whatever the tweet limit is for characters, and all these things become more and more critical to help companies quickly understand and be able to categorize and manage these communication channels, and that's really I guess the best definition I can come up with from the semantic side. Does that I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, if you want to talk more detail about how it's usable in your environment, we'll be available to speak to that.
Okay, great. And again, I'll give you the contact information if you have more questions after we're finished here. We'll have a way that you can ask those. Here's another one. This one's from Steve. I'm here today because I was asked to attend by the support center manager. And while I learned a lot, I still don't know a whole lot about big data, but isn't this similar to an FAQ page with a search feature?
I'm assuming that one's for me because it's referring back to the knowledge base.
Okay.
Is it similar? Yes, at its core, FAQs were designed with, here's one answer, and here's your question. They're the frequently asked questions, right? That's what FAQ stands for. So it is similar in its nature. However, this is significantly more advanced. The idea with all the information that you have on your website, documents, your current knowledge base, potentially your database, and all your unstructured data, that there's no way to provide one right answer with an FAQ for the question that they're asking. With semantics and with the advancements in natural language processing and what we've been discussing, the actual knowledge base tools can literally find that one answer for your one particular question. And so people use search as part of their natural day. Every time I want to find something, I go to Google and I type it in. The same thing that we're seeing on website traffic. People want to search. They want to be able to quickly find their answer. And if you provide them with the right answer, their time period, that they're going to spend on your site, their first search response, or again, it's going to increase customer satisfaction and reduce calls to your call center. So it's definitely different, although you could say that FAQs are probably the first generation of what we've been talking about today.
Okay, thanks very much. This one's from Paul. It looks like this is for Yves. Regarding the informational audit, what would we need to do to prepare for this audit? Like, would we have we have documents on all of our computers all over the country with our people, I guess. And but we want that included in the audit, wouldn't we? And how do we do that? How do we prepare, is what he's asking, for an audit?
Well, it's a very good question. I think one of the first things you need to do is you need to decide which sources of information you want the audit to cover. For example, you've mentioned desktop across the country, different file systems, different legacy systems, databases. You could have, want to look at within your email systems and so on. So in planning an informational audit, what you have to do is decide first and foremost where you want the audit to go and look at. because the audit is going to be as good as the locations of the sources. If you limit the sources, you'll get a limited audit. If you extend the sources and provide a look from the point of view of the audit, and the information is collected for you, by by the engine. So it's going to be, from a security point of view, it's going to remain your information. So as you open more sources and give us access, to the appliance and the virtual systems of the informational audit, the more the better, because we look at documents. We'll be able to help you with risk assessment, or help you with, if you want to implement a strategy about document management or knowledge management. Depending on what strategy you want to implement, you'll decide which sources you want to provide access for the informational audit, and it's always good for any business to stop and take a snapshot of where they are and do diagnostics so that they can align their strategies and decide how to manage information.
Okay, that answered it for me. We've got time for one more question. Mary, when you say volume, variety, and velocity, what do you mean by velocity?
Velocity is simply the fact that let's say, take for example email, which is probably the simplest, and we have to deal with it every day. You get so many emails per minute or so many emails per hours from a call center point of view. So that's velocity. How are you able to respond in a timely fashion? Well, like I said, in the past we added people and we expanded call centers and so on. But now you're dealing with velocity on a 24/7 basis, and it's coming from emails. It could come from SMS. It could come from forums and social media fan page and Twitter and so on and so on. So we just, it's just a question of how many per minutes we're getting, and are we able to respond to that? So that's velocity.
Okay, great. And I say okay, great a lot, but it really is. You're answering the questions, and let's try, okay, we've got about 5 minutes. Let's try one more. Is it possible to include recorded phone calls, WAV files, for example, inside the audit?
Yes, evidently the process is going to be longer, but because the ability to understand conversation means that we have to translate that information to a text. So speech to text. There are tools out there that will do speech to text, and more and more using them with Siri from Apple, using them from different sides of the business. AT&T in the States has got good speech-to-text applications. They provide the ability to convert WAV file and convert audio files to text. Evidently, like if you're scanning documents and so on, sometimes there's a bit of noise, or you're a little bit more limited. But if you can do a good job at speech-to-text, then certainly you can include them into the informational audit.
Okay, one more. Okay, one more, and then we'll wrap it up so everybody can get back to work. How can semantics that you discussed help understand social media, which is written in a very brief and abbreviated format?
Well, maybe I can take that one, Fred. The new technologies have, from NLP, it has evolved in dealing with semantics to look at things like heuristics and part of speech, because evidently in Twitter or other social media, there's a lot of abbreviation. There's a lot of so what you do is you kind of build a lexicon or I would say a dictionary of those terms, and then you kind of explode them and go to the root of those terms to make sure that you understand what they are. so that you can apply semantics. And a word has many meanings, but if you put two words together, they become a concept, and that concept usually gives you good understanding of what the whole thing is all about. Just to give you a very simple example, if I talk in a conversation, I talk about a conference table, it's not the same thing as a kitchen table, but it's still a table. So I have to understand that if the conversation is talking about a kitchen table or a conference table. So that's the semantics, because I need to understand the meaning and the context so that I can derive, what it's all about and what is the discussion all about.
Okay. We will give some information here in addition to this number and website for further information. We'll give Yves a chance and Fred to give their email addresses in case you want to ask specific questions. But before we go, thanks again, both of you, very much for your time. And all of you who have attended, appreciate you being here. We're going to send out a link to each of you of the recording of this webinar, and feel free to share that with any of your coworkers or to review it again yourself when you have some time. And again, don't forget to add us to your address book so you won't have any problems receiving future invitations to our educational series webinars. And we've got another one scheduled for May 9th, and we've got an exciting speaker for that one, so watch out there. And we've got some others coming up as well. And so with that, I'm going to put this slide back up. With that, we'll let you go. Thank you again very much for everything, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.